Welcome back to the Dynasty Stock Market. We got episode 2 of the new series today. I got Dwayne or Dewey's Nuts with me. Tyler was on Wednesday. These are going to be on Fridays every week until we decide to stop doing them on Fridays. Today we have Dynasty trade targets and players that you should be getting right now in your, startups or just in your Dynasty leagues. Before we get started on intro, Dwayne, let's hit the intro. How are you doing? Are you ready to drop the Dynasty knowledge for the listeners?
Yeah, I still think you fucked up naming this thing whatever you named it. I think it should be Dynasty Day Traders, man. Alliteration makes people happy, okay? Anytime you can throw those sounds together, it makes people feel good. No, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. We were just talking about this. As of today, when you're listening to this, Iowa is officially like 75% back opened up. Our governor might be an idiot, but we'll kind of see how that rolls. Unrelated to fantasy, it makes no sense. California just closed down for 3 more months, and we're opening back up today. So I don't really get the whole continuity with who makes the decisions and whatnot, but that's a totally different conversation. But today, like I said, we have our Dynasty trade.
A lot less people in Iowa. They're not so close together, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Fuck it. I'm not leaving my fucking house if I can avoid it all year. Next year either. Fuck it.
I don't plan on going back to normal for a long time for sure. But all right, we'll start off with the quarterbacks. We have all positions in one. So it's gonna be a little bit of a longer episode, but stay tuned. Then we get some good tidbits in here for you to dominate your Dynasty League. So my first quarterback is Jameis.
Hang on.
Oh, yep.
Hang on. Why are you such in a fucking hurry to get to the content here, man? You gotta slow build it. Tell me you don't want to know about something that's happened interesting in my life lately?
Well, sure. If you sound like you're just kind of staying at home. So what has been happening in the week since last Saturday?
So for the first time in maybe 20 years, I got iced yesterday.
Okay.
You know what that means?
Well, I have an idea of what that means. What was it, your birthday? That's kind of like the.
No.
You just got iced, this coast?
Just got iced. Somebody fucking knocked on my door, and sure enough, I opened it up to a couple of Smirnoff ices. Haven't had one of those in a long time. I'll say this. It was delicious. Then I drank my wife's, too. It was very delicious.
That's was that like a neighborhood thing they were just kind of doing to give them something to do, or?
I guess. People just fucking love me, Lucas. They love me.
True.
They want to see my face. They want to be around me. People want to be around Dewey's Nuts. Can't blame me.
Yeah, Dewey's is the man, like your kids say, so.
Dewey's Nuts is the man.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Dynasty here. What are we doing? We got people watching. They're going to leave when we get to the meat. Fuck, Lucas.
You're sure. All right. We'll go back. I'll probably make a cool blooper reel out of that or something. We'll do something like that. But all right.
Leave it in.
I will for sure. All right. Quarterback 1 for me. I have 2. We might have more. Jameis Winston. Now the backup-ish quarterback, third string. Taysom Hill's a quarterback. I don't know. He's a quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is signed there till 2022. They pulled the man out of retirement. He came out and said he was retired. They pulled him out of retirement to come back for, I don't even know, the write-off season. Yeah, But remember, guys, it's the Saints in the playoffs. We see how this has happened the last 3 years, so we'll see how that ends up. But like I said, Drew Brees will not be there next year. This team, the Saints, is 31st, so second to last, in projected cap space for 2021, and they're actually in the negative. So they're going to have to make some moves to even have a quarterback on the roster next year, as Winston's only there for 1 year. But that being said, they're not going to be able to go get big money quarterback in free agency, whoever that's going to be for next year. I don't know, Dak Prescott, Trubisky. I don't even know who else is a free agent for next year, but they're going to have to sign someone cheap. And I think by now we all know Taysom Hill is not the answer. So basically go get Winston for the cheapest you're ever going to get a 25-year-old quarterback that just threw for 5,000 yards last year, and hope to God the Saints' money issues don't necessarily fix themselves immediately and they can get him back on another 1 year, $5 million deal, and then he proves it, and then he's there long term.
There's only one way the Saints managed to sign Jameis Winston for this contract. I mean, they give him $1 million. That's it. Okay, for context, Andy Dalton signed a $7 million deal in Dallas. Like, the only way Jameis Winston signs with the New Orleans Saints is if they fucking promise his ass that he will be the starter next year when Drew Brees leaves. That's the only way that fucker signs that deal. That feels like a safe. That feels like a safe bet that he'll be there next year and he'll be the guy, whether you love Taysom Hill or not. You want to do your second one? You want me to jump in?
You can go first.
Okay. Just in case you're missing them, I brought some sunglasses. I'm gonna play Tyler for this one. I feel bad that he's not no, dude. I can't even read my fucking computer. That kid's a douche. All right. So my first choice, my only choice here at quarterback is Jarret Stidham. Like we said earlier, like, trade targets at the quarterback position are tough to come by because in a super flex league, quarterbacks are outrageously overvalued. All of them, starters or not, they're overvalued. Jarret Stidham, I think, seems to be the exception right now. Like, I drafted Stidham in a startup right before the NFL draft, and I held my breath every time the Patriots came up on the clock, which they did a lot.
Yeah,
but they didn't draft anybody. They picked up a couple of guys after draft was done. Lewerke and Jamar Smith coming out of Louisiana Tech. I think neither of those two guys are NFL quarterbacks. I'm not worried about them. You know, before this whole thing went down, they signed Brian Hoyer. The reason you sign a guy like Brian Hoyer is because he's familiar with the system, doesn't have to learn the system. He's a safe backup, and that's it. Jarret Stidham gets the starting role in New England. I mean, the starting role in New England is a valuable place to be with the best coach, perhaps of all time in the NFL. Like, if you got a shot at starting there, go ahead and do it. There were guys available, Cam Newton available. Jameis Winston was available. Belichick said, no, I don't want any of them. I want the guy we've got. So, like, to me, that's somebody you can go get. Now, in our startup that we were talking about, at the, what was it, 11th, end of the 11th round, Cam Newton was drafted before fucking Jarret Stidham was drafted. Cam Newton, in case you're unaware, is not on an NFL team, and there don't seem to be a lot of prospects, not a lot of teams calling his phone. He'll be signed somewhere, but if you can get a starting quarterback after somebody else drafts a fucking car salesman, like, do that. Seems like there's value there. And forget about your draft. I mean, you can get him for nothing. People are undervaluing so much, and he may flame out quickly, but at least you got a starter. Like, that's all I could say for the guy.
Yeah. No, I think that it's like, the way I look at it is, yes, he's the starter. Yes, he's going super late, but you have to put into context, like, the future for him. Unless Dak Prescott – so next year the free agency of, like, 4 quarterbacks is guys like Phillip Rivers, all the one-year kind of Drew Brees, but they're going to be retired. Phillip Rivers already got his high school coaching career this year, and he's playing in the NFL this year. Dak Prescott maybe, but the chance he gets signed back are pretty high. And then there's the rookies incoming class. Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, they're all going to go top 5.
Yeah.
No matter how mediocre Stidham can play, the Patriots will not have a top 5, probably even top 10 pick for next year. Tom Brady played terrible last year, and they were in the playoffs, but they probably honestly should have beat the Titans, whatever. But this team is a playoff team. They lost 2 guys on defense. They replaced those 2 with 5 same position players in the NFL draft. So this team is right back where they left off. If Stidham can just literally game manage, it can go 9-7. Like, that's going to be at least a quarterback 2 in fantasy, and he's probably going to win the job in the future. So I don't think it's – I think that's the thing that's scaring people is that, the Patriots are going to be really bad, so they're going to get a Trevor Lawrence or whatever next year, but they're not going to be.
They're forgetting that, like, there's a team outside of the quarterback, right? The Patriots defense is where were they last year? By far and away the best, at least fantasy defense, if not NFL defense. Like, they're not going to be – they're not going 4-12 or 13 or whatever, however many games there are in the league. I don't remember anymore. They're adding so many. But, it's a good team. Worst case scenario, there's a 3rd, 4th round quarterback drafted by the Patriots next year. That's a worst case scenario, and that's not a starting quarterback. I mean, that doesn't work out. I take him. And one of the issues that I take in Dynasty is, like, it's awesome that you're looking to the future. You have to look to the future, but people sacrifice looking at what's happening right now in front of them too often for the future. Okay, maybe Stidham isn't the starting quarterback next year, but he is right now. Like, draft his ass in the 9th round if you want to in a super flex, and you've got somebody worth starting.
Yeah, and then just pick up Brian Hoyer too, just for insurance, or Go get Cam
Yeah.
Newton too. Like Cam Newton is the only quarterback that might go there. So just take all three and you're going to have a starter, which is like in Superflex is hard to come by unless you pay up early. So I like that a lot. My next quarterback, and this one pains me to put him on here, is Baker Mayfield.
Don't say it, man.
It's
Just
not
lost a lot of
because
credibility there.
it's not because I'm drafting him in a lot of leagues or I'm like, oh my gosh, like breakout coming because we all saw this last year. But the numbers add up for him to bounce back for this upcoming year. So he took 12 sacks, more than the average of the top 40 fantasy quarterbacks last year, right around like the third most sacked quarterback in the NFL. And what did they do? They went out and got Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills, making their O-lines probably one of the top, I'd say at least top 10, but probably top 5 now if you look at it just on paper. Always kind of the thing that comes into with it with second years in new systems. Obviously, they have another new coach, but it's more of a safer system. It takes time to develop that out. But I think with the way Stefanski's going to run that offense with the run-first motto, a lot of play action, a lot of just shorter routes, not a lot of what Freddie Kitchens tried to do last year. I think they'll be able to hit it pretty early. I looked at Kirk Cousins from 27 to 2019, his completion percentage under Stefanski, who was the QB coach and then the QB coach for half the year, then the offensive coordinator for half the year, and then the offensive coordinator, 64%, 70%, and 69.1%. Last year, Baker had a 59.4 completion percentage. That's not adjusted completion. That's just straight up completions divided by passing attempts. So like that just to me shows that the offense is much simpler than what they tried to do. They're going to try and run it first, which will set up easier throws. And that's what we hope for guys like Baker, even now Austin Hooper, David Njoku, OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and they kind of have a similar offense to the way the Vikings have had the last 3 years. So I say trade because I still probably would avoid him in startups because they're still where he's going is right around guys like Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, even Jared Goff, which that's pretty similar. Probably Joe Burrow if people aren't all about the rookies. So I think it's kind of pick your poison with how much you give for him, but I do think it will be much better than last year, but I still think the top 5 ceiling is sort of not in the picture.
Yeah, my only concern with putting Baker on this list is the value thing for trade, right? When you look at trade targets, you're looking for guys that you can get value on. Now, you said he's going around guys like Drew Lock, and that might be his ADP, which I think that's probably appropriate where you take him. But like in our startup, he was the 6th quarterback taken at the end of the second round. Like there are guys out there that think there's a big body of people out there that still think Baker Mayfield is the next coming, right? And that the Cleveland Browns offense is going to be the most explosive offense in football. So it's going to be really difficult, I think, for people to find good value for a Baker Mayfield or anybody on that Browns team, to be honest with you, this year until he fucks up again, and then maybe he's got a shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm hesitant on somebody like Baker because the value is not there. Like Jameis, you can get real cheap. Stidham, you can get cheap, but I just don't see any value in going after a guy like Baker fucking Mayfield.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing that is just funny in terms of like the Browns sort of, I guess you could say Twitter hype is everyone's like, oh, Stefanski making this team a playoff team. And we look at last year, they brought in a new coach with no head coaching experience. That didn't work out. So what they do, they went out and got another coach with no head coaching experience. So like I just think Stefanski's a little safer. So it might just be not as much of a letdown if they don't produce at the level they think they should. But like the Browns organization is never going to learn from their mistakes. Like go out and get, I don't know, literally like Kubiak or like someone like that I know is not like the prettiest on paper, but he at least has team managing experience. Because from all the Twitter blurbs and rumors I've heard, it was chaotic in that locker room. Like it was just a disaster with how the team was ran. So I hope it's better.
I said from the start. I said from the very start that they should have let Greg Williams run that team. And if Greg Williams was a head coach last year, after doing a killer job as the interim a couple of years ago, like that is a different team altogether. But you're not wrong. Like a Mike McCarthy would have been a good choice there. I wanted the Browns to go after McCarthy real hard. They wouldn't have got him. Dallas gets whatever they want, but.
Yeah.
Fuck up there high. I like Stefanski as an offensive coach. His offense is good. He's got a nicely built scheme there, but that's a lot of big personalities in that locker room, man. That's not going to go.
For sure. You want to give him your running back since I had 2 there?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. My running back here, this is a purely speculative ad. We're talking about what stock market is our thing, right? So like
Yeah.
speculating in the stock market simply means guessing what's going to happen, even if you don't have a lot of historical evidence to lean on. That's all this is, and it's Raquel Armstead. I know he's a hot name sort of right now as far as, handcuffs out there in the league go. But I think Raquel Armstead of the Jacksonville Jags, if you're not aware, he was a 5th-round pick last season going in to 2019. Look, the team likes this kid a lot. He didn't get on the field. He hasn't done a whole lot on the field in game time, but they're really confident in him. Hence, the whole trade Leonard Fournette thing, right? Part of the reason they felt so comfortable trying to move Fournette is because they like what they've got in Raquel Armstead. They did not go out and draft, even after saying, hey, we're trying desperately to get rid of Fournette. They didn't go and draft a running back in the draft to kind of fill those holes because, again, they feel like they've got a starter. They picked up James Robinson in the after the draft as a free agent. I like James Robinson a lot, but that's not their plan when they let Fournette go next year. And let's not get it twisted. They're letting Fournette go next year. They already decided not to pick up his 5th-year option. Doesn't mean they can't sign him to a new contract, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of love right now between Leonard Fournette and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, look, give me the guy who the team is confident in taking over. And look, the most impressive thing I think about the Jacksonville Jaguars running back spot, whoever the fuck that is, last year only 2 backs in the league had 60-plus snaps per game, 22.5 touches per game, and 17.5 or more of their team's target share per game. Only 2 backs had that kind of volume, and that was Leonard Fournette and CMC. It's a team that relies on the position, and if Fournette leaves and Armstead gets his chance, fucking fantastic. We know what happened with Fournette his rookie season, injury-wise. He's what Sports Injury Predictor puts him at a high risk for re-injury to miss, I think, 3.5 games, whatever. But as a handcuff this year, I think he can't do any better than Raquel Armstead. As an opportunity next year, should he get to step in like the team wants him to step in, it's just a role that has a lot of looks. Like that's valuable. We're speculating here because he's done nothing on the field. But if you're going to speculate, this is a guy that I feel safe doing that with.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the biggest thing in Dynasty is you have to take risks like this. I say it all the time. You can be a good fantasy player playing a ton of leagues, and you can get top 6 every year. But you have to get to the playoffs and then get lucky to win the championship. And a move like this, if you move, I don't know, even a 2021 second or something, I get that it might seem like a bad trade. But then say they trade away Leonard Fournette, who knows? Say that Fournette gets hurt like he has in the past. They don't have another running back, and is Devontae Freeman maybe, Carlos Hyde maybe, but besides that, it's just a bunch of wash-up guys anyways that aren't going to take from Armstead, who was a really good athlete.
Ozigbo. Come on.
Yeah, they did bring him in, but I don't know. But yeah, Armstead, we saw last year that, especially the draft, I think the draft is a huge thing. Out of all the rumors of Ngakoue being traded, we saw them go get their new edge rusher. Then Fournette's rumors came up. They could have gotten Cam Akers. They could have gotten probably Dobbins, if I remember right. They could have gotten any of the running backs they wanted, honestly, with all the picks they had. And they did not. They didn't get any of them. No. So I think that it's a very good trade target for sure.
That's faith right there. That's faith in what they have. So like you put in here some trades that are happening right now, just to give the people an idea of what kind of value we're looking at for a Raquel Armstead. Like Jaylen Samuels for Raquel Armstead, straight up. That happened in my fantasy league recently. Tariq Cohen. Look, Jaylen Samuels is done in the league. Anthony McFarland comes in and he takes over. Benny Snell takes over. If you can make that happen, a guy that's on the way out for a guy that's on the way in, fantastic. Tariq Cohen for Raquel Armstead. Again, you're living off of Tariq Cohen's production 2 years ago. If you're relying on that again, on that offense, that ain't going to happen. The Bears fucking suck. If you can get this kid for guys that did shit in the past, like that's playing Dynasty, right? That's speculating against previous value that no longer exists, and that's how you win. You're not wrong. You got to make these moves before Fournette leaves the team because Armstead's value is going to go through the roof right now. Get him for nothing.
Yeah, and this kind of can go both ways too, because I would honestly put maybe Fournette on this list because a guy that went top 7, top 5 in the NFL draft whenever he was drafted, doesn't go into free agency and not be on a team the next year. Like you don't see that very often. So I think it can kind of go both ways. That Fournette will see a little bit less of a role change on a new team, most likely, but he'll still be worth probably what you have to pay for him right now. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm wait if I'm the Fournette, or if I don't have Fournette, right, but I want Fournette, you wait till the back half of this season, weeks 12, 13, when the people who are out of the playoffs are out of the playoffs. That's when you make a move for a guy like that, right? Because they know, just as you do, that Fournette will be leaving the team. Everything's up in the air. Who knows? I wouldn't trade for him now just because he's still the starter. He did have a big season. His ADP is pretty high. So, again, the value's not there. But at the end of this year, that is a move that should be made. I've heard you say before, I think, anybody whose contract is up, you trade them before that season's over, right? Because who knows what's – was that you? Talking about Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I mean, at least I have that same motto. So
y'all look like you're fucking 14 years old. I don't know. Can't tell one from the other.
All right.
Somebody said it.
I'm a little bit older than 14, but Tyler, he's probably like 12.
You gotta grow something on your face. You got like that cherub face right now, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's also the mic too, but for sure. I have another handcuff, but I think will be the starter very soon. I have Alexander Madison backup for the Vikings, probably even third string with Mike Boone. I don't really know how that whole backfield runs out. But Dalvin Cook is a free agent next year. He was drafted in the same draft class as Fournette. He was who I wanted the Broncos to take. Different story. But the Sports Injury Predictor, great site. Go check it out. There is a paid version, but you can get like 5 free searches or something a day. I don't really know. 56.8% chance of re-injury. And we all know Dalvin Cook's injury proneness, injury history that he's had so far. But we have seen how good he is when he's healthy. So that's where it kind of contradicts it a little bit. But next year, the Vikings are 25th in projected cap space for the NFL. It's a little bit sort of skewed if you just tie the 25th to it, because they still have like 30 million. It's a pretty big gap between like the 29 to 25. So like they still have money to work with. But I think the Vikings are kind of a smart organization, and they realize they've seen the trends of not needing to pay running backs when it's not necessary. Go get your quarterback, even though it is Kirk Cousins. They have done that, and it's worked for them. They've gone to the playoffs. So this is speculative, just like you said. This is only if Dalvin Cook is not returning on the team next year. And I think Madison, we've seen it when he had his limited touches, because he got hurt too last year, that he can produce as a fantasy starting running back, as a starting running back in the NFL. So this is a handcuff in terms of an injury chance, but coming into next year, you could easily go trade for Madison right now. And some of the trades from DLF's trade tool, Madison for Matt Breed is straight up. These are all the recent ones too. I usually try to look for like 1-for-1 swaps and not like 4-for-4 players. Madison for the 209 this year and the 306 in the rookie drafts, and Madison for Chase Edmonds. So kind of, sort of, I guess you could say, so Breida and Chase Edmonds are kind of similar. I think Breida is not really necessarily a handcuff, but kind of a similar in terms of touches he might get a game. Edmonds is a handcuff. But to me, I think Madison just has the most upside out of taking a chance of being the starter than Breida, Edmonds, really even Pollard. Armstead, you could say, is in that same kind of category. But what do you think on Madison?
Look, so I didn't read your notes before we started this, to be fair for the people, but I'm going to hit you with some Alexander Madison statistics that I think I remember off the top of my head. Obviously, you don't have them in your notes, so you can fact check me later, people, if you want to. But I believe I did a handcuffs episode with Real Deal Fantasy recently, and we talked about Alexander Madison. But I believe in 4 of his last 8 games. He didn't play the last couple games in the season because he hurt himself. You're right. I think in 4 of his last 8 games, he had 60 yards when Dalvin Cook was playing, right? I think he had 8 touches in 7 games last season out of the 13 he was there. I believe, if I remember correctly, the red zone touch numbers between Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison last year was like 50 to 25. Like, he was on the field, he was playing, he was producing, especially near the end of the year when both players were in there. So not only a speculative ad, like if you can get Alexander Madison for a Chase Edmonds is not going to play. Alexander Madison is going to be flex worthy on occasion, even now with Dalvin Cook there. That's a great running back to have. His ADP, when we looked, was right around running back 40. So like people aren't valuing him. Last year going in, he was going a lot higher than he is this year, but he produced last season, so he should be going higher. I love that pick as a trade target for Dynasty, Even redraft leagues, Alexander
sure.
Madison is on my board. Like, that's a guy that I want on my team now.
For sure.
All right,
Yeah,
we're moving on to beer number 2.
All right, for sure. There you go.
Drink some Oberon, so delicious local beer from right here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're going national brand Blue Moon Belgian. This is my wife's choice here, but I'll enjoy one while we're going. What are you drinking? Tell the people.
Water, some water out of a Yeti, straight from my faucet. For
out
sure.
Of a Yeti, so you're like a uppity bitch.
I guess. Well, yeah, I'm
okay.
We'll see. Go around to your receiver.
You want me to go receivers first? I have 2 receivers that I'm going to hit you with. I'll do one. You go. I'll go. That'll be great. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. I had 3 on here until just about a half hour ago. I decided to take one off. But the first guy I'm going to give you here is Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel is awesome. Another guy who, going into last season, his ADP and his value was a lot higher than it is this season. There was a big argument last year going in. Is it Curtis Samuel or is it DJ Moore? Which guys were worth having? I think DJ Moore won that argument last year. But at the same time, Curtis Samuel is the guy that you should probably go after in Dynasty leagues this year. In our startup, he went in the 13th round. He's going after a whole bunch of rookies. And we know what happens with rookie receivers, right? If you're rebuilding for the future, you want to ignore this year, take your rookies over a guy like Curtis Samuel, who's been in the league 2 years now. He's 23 years old, so he's not a lot older than these guys. But for me, I'm taking that guy who can help me win now and in the future. I have heard the argument on Twitter, and I think it's a stupid argument, that DJ Moore is going to have way more targets every year because his draft capital is so much higher. He went in the first round. People forget that Curtis Samuel, before he got hurt and missed his whole rookie season, was picked in the beginning of the second round. He was picked 16 picks later than DJ Moore was picked, right? Like he's not like a late round guy. This was a guy that the team valued when they went out and got him. Next season, he's going to be a free agent, which is why I put him on this list, because if he goes to another team, he looks exactly the same as DJ Moore does. They do slightly different things on the team, but put him on another team where he can have a bit role all to himself. I like that a lot. Over the last couple of seasons, 14 touchdowns to 6 touchdowns for DJ Moore. I know DJ Moore has the yards, he has the targets, he has the catches, but Curtis Samuel is the guy inside the red zone that the Panthers have trusted over the last couple of years. He's shown that he can be a red zone target. He had 8 targets inside the 10-yard line last year, which was 18th best in the league, regardless of position. Second best on the team, only behind Greg Olsen. So you got Curtis Samuel, who this year on the Panthers was the second most targeted red zone guy, and he was the short and intermediate route guy. Okay, when Greg Olsen leaves, who was the red zone target leader and the short and intermediate route leader, who do you think gets those targets? Like, it's not going to DJ Moore, who goes downfield. Like, they're not even going to go to CM. Well, some of them will go to CMC, but Curtis Samuel stands to get a big bump with Greg Olsen this year in the red zone, in the middle of the field, I think. And then, and he's playing on a contract season. Let's see him blow up and earn himself some money next year. I'd like to see him go to a new team next year. If you want Curtis Samuel, you got to get him now. You can get him cheap. And sky's the limit for this kid moving forward this year or moving forward in future years in Dynasty, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Curtis Samuel guy. Number 1 in air yards last year. Number 1 in unrealized air yards, which is air yards minus his actual receiving yards. It's basically a metric that just shows how he could have been used or how he was not used efficiently. I mean, with Kyle Allen, like, what else do we expect? Now they're bringing Teddy.
Yeah, you got to throw away everything from last season, okay? And I know we have a whole new coaching staff, whole new offense this year, but you got to throw away all the stuff from last year.
For sure.
Kyle Allen,
I agree. Absolutely. And Teddy Bridgewater, you bring in, so insert Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks he's not good, that he's not going to be good for fantasy, but you look at, he went 5-0 last year. I know the Saints were good, whatever. But if everyone is all aboard the DJ Moore, CMC, Ian Thomas, previously Curtis Samuel, now they bring in Robbie Anderson, so kind of a combination of those two, someone has to throw them the ball. Like, someone has to get them the ball, and Teddy Bridgewater is one of the most accurate quarterbacks when he's healthy. Now he's going to get a full offseason with Joe Brady, who, if you don't remember, LSU just tore it up in the championship with him calling plays. Matt Rule, who just turned around Baylor's poverty franchise into kind Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl. I don't. They played Georgia in some bowl game. This team is going to come in. They didn't add. They went all defense. They literally the draft was 7 defensive picks. They said that they got their offense. They got their offense in free agency, and they're all aboard the whole spread offense. Joe Brady's going to be calling the plays. And if you look back to Justin Jefferson, a.k.a. Curtis Samuel, we hope in this offense, he's just going to be a target hog. DJ Moore, I think, will see a little bit of a step back in terms of the downfield production. I think they'll use DJ Moore probably in kind of Jamar Chase's role last year, which was kind of just everything in that offense, kind of a Michael Thomas sort of role for the Saints. Robbie Anderson's going to be the downfield burner. And then CMC's obviously the number one touch. But, yeah, Curtis Samuel, he's 23, I think you mentioned. He's going to be 24 with 3 years of experience going into free agency. Like, that's a screaming pay me now for any team that needs a receiver. And we saw all the teams that everyone wanted to take a receiver in the draft, like the Packers, even the Niners to an extent, because Ayuk's not like a true number one receiver. The Chiefs will need a receiver next year. They have 3 guys that are going to be on a contract. There's probably so many other teams that could use a receiver that I think will love Curtis Samuel. And if Curtis Samuel balls out, the Panthers are going to pay him to come back and do the same thing next year. So I like that a lot for him.
Let's not forget, like, one of the new hot trends in the NFL is like this Swiss Army knife guy, right? Like the Deebo Samuel, who can run the jet. So they've been doing jet sweeps for a while, but all of a sudden it seems like it's a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel is the wide receiver that gets those plays for the Panthers, has for the past couple of years. I think he scored 4 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 years. 300 rushing yards over the last 2 years for this team. He can do it all. He's a guy that's going to be highly targeted in free agency, should be, if the Panthers don't bring him back.
Yeah, I love that a lot for sure. And he 13th round, like that's insane. There's probably 10 receivers above him that are all 4 years older and like a wide receiver 2 or 3 on their team respectively anyways. And half those teams probably run the ball first. This team, yes, they're going to run the ball, but the volume in terms of passing going to be big. 1, just because of Joe Brady, and 2, because this team is going to be terrible. Like they're going to be awful. You can't bring in 7 rookie defenders and expect them to start and produce right away. So I think there'll be a lot of volume to go around for all, I guess, 5 of their offensive weapons they're going to have next year.
You know, one of my favorite things about the way we're doing our dynasty draft, so we waited till after the NFL draft, so the rookies are just built into our startup. One of my favorite things about doing a draft like that is the crazy value people put on rookies. Like I picked Curtis Samuel in the 13th round, and that was after, 4 or 5 rookie receivers in a row went off the board. Those rookie receivers aren't going to produce this year. Half of them aren't going to be able to produce the way we already know Curtis Samuel can. And you know what? They're 21 and 22 years old. And like I said, Curtis Samuel at 23, like, take the fucking experience, man.
For sure, yeah.
That's why I like shit like this. Like a pass on the rookies and win.
Yeah.
I'll win the league, by the way. Did you know that?
Sure. I mean, we'll probably have episodes recapping and whatnot. A thing with that too is, I guess I can give a narrative of sort of how I approach it. So CeeDee Lamb is I'm not like knocking his talent, his situation or whatever, but he's being extremely overdrafted over guys like Tyler Boyd, guys like, I saw there was a draft I was doing. Oh gosh, I'm missing it. Robert Woods, like 3 rounds higher than Robert Woods. Guys like that. There's people being overdrafted him. CeeDee Lamb is the wide receiver 3 for the Cowboys. Both those other receivers are not going to be cut or free agent or traded for 2 years. So you're going to wait 3 years for CeeDee Lamb to maybe get you 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. Yeah, Tyler Boyd literally did that 2 years ago. Now he gets Joe Burrow. Robert Woods, without Brandon Cooks, literally did that, or with Brandon Cooks, did that with like minus 200 yards. Yeah, so I think it's perfect sort of narrative, I guess you could say, is I know that the situation might not be good for Curtis Samuel, but he'll at least be a flex play with huge upside if those air yards correct themselves, which I know Teddy Bridgewater doesn't throw the ball downfield a ton, but even if he just connects on 5 or 6 more passes compared to last year, that's at the way he's used is 20 to 30 more fantasy points. I like that a lot for Curtis Samuel for sure.
I threw before we move off, I know we're talking a lot about Curtis Samuel, but I threw one of these trade things in here just so people can get an idea of the value that's happening right now. The one trade I found, which I thought was hilarious, it's a startup draft, and somebody traded they gave away a 25th round pick for Curtis Samuel and a 27th round pick. So to move up 2 rounds in the mid-20s, they gave up Curtis Samuel. Like, good God, like, that's fucking great. That's basically
crazy.
drafting
That's
this
insane.
asshole in the 26th round. Come on.
That's crazy. It's funny because you mentioned the whole DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, like training camp battle. He was drafted in like the 6th round in like redraft last year, and now he's going 13th in Dynasty, and he's 23 years old. So yeah, it's crazy that the Kyle Allen season can ruin that aspect for him.
That's what you take advantage. If you're paying attention, you take advantage of shit like that for sure.
For sure. Alrighty. This one I am super passionate about, and I've been drafting him everywhere because his floor is super safe, his ceiling is super high, and his ADP is like just perfect right around like the 6th. Robert Woods is who I said earlier when I was mentioning the whole CeeDee Lamb thing. So he was 8th in targets last year, just straight up last year. He kind of had an underwhelming season-ish sort of last year. Like the end of the season was good, but I'm not going to break down like week by week stats and stuff like that.
Why not?
But now,
what the fuck else are you doing?
Yes, true. No Brandon Cooks. He got traded to the Texans. Bill O'Brien making some genius moves, as always, for sure. So that means 451 vacated routes run insert into this offense. So they're just up in the air. I don't think Vaughn Jefferson he's not going to run 400. You can't ask a rookie to run 450 routes. Like, not a chance that happens. 978 vacated air yards from Brandon Cooks. Vaughn Jefferson is not a downfield stretcher. So someone has to do that. Cooper Kupp is not a downfield stretcher. Robert Woods, not that he's a downfield stretcher, but he can kind of do it all. So he's going to be using those deep passes, which if you remember 2 years ago, he was used in that when the Rams went to the Super Bowl and they used more of a play action sort of vertical spread style. And then for some reason they decided to switch it up last year. Maybe they got too cocky. I don't really know what the whole scenario was there. And then Cooper Kupp, the other receiver that we mentioned, is a free agent next year. And they can actually trade/cut him for no dead money and save like $8 million this year. They are, I didn't write down.
Shut up. They're not getting rid. Cooper Kupp is going to retire a fucking Ram. You kidding?
Yeah, true. He just changed his number. I wrote this before he changed his number, and like the whole this, I didn't really evaluate the cap. They actually have quite a bit of cap because they took a lot of dead money hits with Gurley and Clay Matthews and Weddle this year by letting him go. So it's not an issue there. But Cooper Kupp's just a free agent. Add that in there because if that were to happen, then Woods would be a top probably 10 dynasty receiver. But then I took some sort of I don't know, whatever you want to say, adjusted, or I don't know. I'll just read them off. So Woods was 6th in routes run last year in terms of the top 100 fantasy wide receivers. All these will be in terms of the top 100 fantasy wide receivers in PPR. And the average touchdowns of the top 15 receivers in route runs was 4.6 higher than what Woods had at 2. So 6.6. So he was 4.6 touchdowns behind the top 15 in terms of route run, and he was 6th. He was 32nd in air yards. And out of the all receivers with 1,000 or more air yards, which he had, he was 4.23 less touchdowns, so 6.23, and he had 2. And then Woods was 8th in targets for the wide receiver position. And out of receivers with greater than 100 targets last year, which there was 30 of them, he had 4.36 less touchdowns than those, so 6.36 and 2. So basically what I mean is he's scoring a lot more than 2 touchdowns this year just based off positive regression. And then there's those air yards that are vacated, the vacated routes run, bringing in a rookie running back, which I think Cam Akers is going to do great in redraft and dynasty, but you're still going to have to work him in. I mean, like, for as bad as we may think Todd Gurley would have played, he was still Todd Gurley last year. He still had the experience. He still knew what he was doing. So they're going to have to rely on the passing game a lot more. Vaughn Jefferson, same scenario. Like I said, he's not going to run 450 routes because, one, if there's no training camp, he has to learn the routes first before he runs them. That might not happen the way we want it to. So I think Robert Woods is basically a wide receiver 1 that's being drafted as like a wide receiver 2.5, right between the 2 and the 3 this year. So I'll read off some trades and I'll get your feedback for that.
Wait, don't read them off.
Okay.
Because I want to point to one of them specifically and ask you this question. It's very interesting. It's the first one you listed. Robert Woods going for 2 of the guys that we've already mentioned as targets, Alexander Madison and Curtis Samuel. If you have the opportunity to be on either side of this trade, which would you – I know you just said that you love some Robert Woods, right? All that shit you just said, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Robert Woods is your fucking dude. But who do you want more, Robert Woods or Alexander Madison and Curtis Samuel? All 3 guys we've talked about as guys you want on your dynasty team. Where do you go? Who do you pick?
So this one's tough because obviously I could say that it matters on your team if you're rebuilding, selling, because obviously it does. But in a way, dynasty trades don't need to be evaluated that much. I think you should always be trying to win no matter how good or bad your team is. But yeah, I think it's a good one because you are sacrificing the wide receiver one production with Woods to get Madison, who I think I have him on probably every single dynasty team that I run just because the clear upside is there. And even he's probably, I mean, we didn't pull up his ADP. He's probably being drafted around guys like Matt Breida and Edmonds. Like Breida might be a flex. Edmonds is not a flex. And yeah, I know you mentioned you could start him in the flex with clear upside. The part where I would maybe take the Woods is we find running backs like this all the time in terms of Madison every single year. Guys like this pop up, maybe not to that upside. But Samuel, if he gets on a new team next year, we're kind of hoping he becomes Robert Woods, if that makes any sense. Like if he lands on the Packers, we're hoping he gets more than 100 targets, 1,000, 1,200 yards, 1,400 yards, whatever he's going to get. So that's a really good, and it's funny that it ties into the episode. That's a really good, I think, even trade. So that one I think would solely just come down to, are you trying to win right now? Because obviously you'd want to go Woods. You don't want to be starting Samuel if you're trying to win every week. Right. So that's a really good one for sure. I can read off the next, I guess, two because they're not one for ones, but they're kind of similar. So Kenny Galladay and Latavius Murray got traded for David Montgomery and Robert Woods. To me, that's just a smash on the David Montgomery and Robert Woods side, regardless if you're rebuilding or win now. People undervalue David Montgomery. We'll probably do like an ADP check of this or like a value check or something.
Fuck David Montgomery, dude. Fuck all the Bears.
Okay, I know you don't like him. I know you don't like him, and you're a Bears fan. I went to Iowa State.
Ryan Pace. Fuck them all. But, I know. Wait, you love David Montgomery because he's an Iowa State cyclone.
No, I'm actually on the opposite. No, I actually last year I was the one saying he was not that good of an actual running back. Like
you drafted David Montgomery and Hakeem Butler in the first and second last year's rookie draft. Don't lie.
No, I did not. Actually, that last year was like my first year doing rookie drafts because I joined in. The only two dynasty leagues I did 2 years ago were combined. So, like, I had no clue what I was doing. And I traded away all my rookie picks. So I'm like, I don't want these guys. Like, and so I didn't actually really draft anyone. This is my first year of kind of fully doing that. But yeah, completely different episode. Dave Montgomery, good value right now. The man's going to get 250 opportunities this year. But yeah, just like that trade right there. You can get a running back with 250 opportunities and a low-end wide receiver one for Kenny Galladay, who I think people are overvaluing a bit because no one really takes into account his splits with Marvin Jones last year. It was really good when Marvin Jones wasn't on the field, and everyone saw what he did with David Blau, so they think that he can do it with Matt Stafford, but Marvin Jones will still be there. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Robert Woods and maybe how you're approaching him in startups this year?
I love Woods. My problem is this. Literally every single dynasty team that I have, I own Cooper Kupp in. So I have a hard time. I have a hard time taking him just because of that. Because I think between the two, I'd take Kupp over Woods all day. But Robert Woods is fantastic, and he's been undervalued. He's always been undervalued. I mean, he's a fantastic player to have on your team. He's going to start and produce every single week for you. He's one of these guys that his floor is super high. His ceiling his ceiling is higher than people expect because what did he go 3 weeks in a row with 18, 17 targets or some stupid fucking number?
Yeah, it was once Cooks got hurt and once Everett got hurt. And
My God, 13, the guy gets looks because quarterbacks trust a guy like Robert Woods that can play. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Two things that I want to point out just for the credibility of the website, this YouTube page, and your brand altogether, Lucas. One, it's Van Jefferson, not Vaughn Jefferson.
Oh, sorry. I always mess that up.
Fuck's sake. It feels like you know more about college football than I do, but then you do some shit like that, okay? Not okay. And I'll say this. In two of my previous rookie drafts, I drafted Van Jefferson owning Cooper Kupp, and I feel really bad about it because they do the exact same thing, which plays into your Robert Woods thing. Two running backs that do the exact same thing and leaves Robert Woods to do everything else on the field. Fantastic. My other issue is this. I know what's your major? You're in school. What's your major? It's statistics or
business analytics.
Yeah, business analytics. These stats for you're saying this much over the average underneath the blah, blah, blah. You lost everybody that was listening, man. Just tell them touchdown regression is coming. You don't need to get into these 4.23 less touchdowns per 1,000. Fuck, shut up. Just say he's going to play well and people will listen to you. That's Christ almighty. You got to dumb it down. Lucas, life lesson from an older man. People are stupid. Play to that.
Okay.
right? That's why I get drunk
For
every
sure.
episode, just to dumb myself down to bring them to the level of our listeners.
So Danny, if you're listening right now, he just called you stupid. That's for sure.
Well, he's Canadian. Like, he's not going to
Oh
talk shit
yeah,
about it. Like,
good point.
he'd be fine.
He's a
Let me ask
Canadian
you this
Cowboys
question.
fan, so
Let me ask you this question. Real talk. Danny and Tyler, are they going to fight?
I don't know. They kind of have a little bit of a tension, you could say, or so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because one of them's a Cowboys fan and one of them's like a Dolphins fan, and I don't know. It's
Bit of a lover's tiff is what it is, I think.
yeah. Tyler also hates Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So like we could have like I don't. Some of the things they do and say are just don't add up in terms of like statistically or just like common football knowledge. So it's this is on air right now, so hopefully they're listening, because I mean I would hope they listen to our own channel's videos. But yeah, so
They're an interesting duo. You built the team, so if it implodes, it's your fault. I think you're the boss, right?
yeah, I'll just pass it off to you before it implodes, though.
Do people know? Do people know that Lucas Kaser is the fucking boss? Like you're the man, right? You're at the top. You're at the top of the pyramid.
I don't know. I mean, we're a collective team, so I don't really know if it's like a pyramid scheme or like
Yeah, leaders say that shit. Like, claim it.
That's
Just
true.
claim it.
I guess.
You're the boss.
I don't know. I mean, Dewey's Nuts is the man, though, according to your kids. So I don't know if I am, though.
I'm the man on the bottom of the totem pole. I want you to start wearing a shirt that says "boss" to all of these fucking guys.
Okay.
I'll send you one.
I'll get like a flag or something back there or something like that.
Fuck, you got other flags in your childhood bedroom there. It's fine. Let's
It's my
talk about
apartment.
my
Relax.
other. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me talk about my other wide receiver, because I had two. I know this is taking fucking forever, but I don't care.
Okay.
This is how I do things. Long form fantasy advice and alcohol. I like Tyler Boyd. You mentioned him a couple times. Oh, excuse me.
Nice.
You mentioned Tyler Boyd a couple of times already. Now, less value for somebody like Tyler Boyd than there is Robert Woods, Curtis Samuel. He's going, I think he went in the 9th round in our startup. He's going pretty high ADP-wise. I don't recall exactly where it is. Higher than I expected. I think inside the top 15 in ADP. But this is a kid that I think is going to be really fucking good over the next handful of years. I know the reason I put him on this list, you're always looking for value, is AJ Green is back, right? The team goes out and drafts T. Higgins. T. Higgins is, in essence, AJ Green. Like, this is the same guy. So it looks like they're drafting AJ Green's replacement to be the big play guy, to take all the touchdowns, all the deep balls. And if you're the Tyler Boyd owner, or if you were looking at Tyler Boyd prior to the draft, T. Higgins might put you off. And those are the reasons you should go see if the Tyler Boyd owner in your league is willing to part with him, because there's a discount coming. My favorite thing about Tyler Boyd is his splits with AJ Green over the last 2 seasons. All of the numbers, targets, maybe not targets, but catches, yards, touchdowns, everything that you can imagine is better with AJ Green on the field, because Tyler Boyd's one of these guys who he is maybe the best wide receiver 2 in football. Like, that's gonna spark some debate. People are gonna be mad about it, but he's not a fantastic 1. You put him against the quote unquote shutdown corners, you might struggle a little bit. We saw that a couple of times last season with AJ Green out, but with somebody else on the field, I think there's few people that can perform better than Tyler Boyd. So should Higgins step into the AJ Green role after Green leaves at the end of the season, which, don't kid yourself, he's leaving. He's really fucking pissed that he's got to play on a franchise tag now. He may not. Like, there's a chance he holds out and doesn't play just because he don't want to play on this tag. Last year, he was healthy and he decided he didn't want to play anyway at the end of the year, right? But this is an up-and-coming offense. Joe Burrow is what Joe Burrow is. He's going to be a good quarterback in the league at the very worst. We've finally moved on to a new coaching staff. We'll see what happens, with the new quarterback, the coach in there. We've got T. Higgins. We've got a lot of things going on this team. I think if you can talk to the owner, and if the owner is concerned, which is likely, you might be able to get decent value out of this guy. And he's a legit wide receiver. He was the wide receiver 18 last season as the starter, and I don't think he finished outside the top 24 with AJ Green on the field, just because he's one of those, again, super reliable fucking guys that just plays well all the fucking time. Some trades that we put in here. Look, Tyler Boyd in a Yahoo league recently went straight up for Jakeem Grant. I put it in there because it sounds like a joke, but apparently it really fucking happened. How about Tyler Boyd and Zach Ertz for Mark Ingram? Like, that means Tyler Boyd is being undervalued, and you should at least talk to the owner right now. I've done it in 2 of my dynasty leagues just to see where they're at, get a price check, because this is a kid that can be on your fantasy team, your wide receiver 2, and a fucking great wide receiver 2 on your fantasy team with wide receiver 1 week to week potential upside. So go get him. At least talk to the guy.
Yeah, you hit all the numbers the way he plays, and I think the thing that just breaking down more of the scare of maybe his targets go down. T. Higgins comes in, literally shows AJ Green's not there next year. Like, even if he wants to play, like, he's not there. This team has another thing with this. Yes, they got Joe Burrow. Yes, they have 1 offensive lineman coming back. This team is still going to be bad. Like, it's not like they're now division contenders. Like, it's not going to happen. They got 3 new corners. They got a D tackle, DJ Reader, but like, that's it. They made no other moves. So maybe you take a little bit of a discount if AJ Green stays healthy, John Ross stays healthy, but John Ross and AJ Green are both gone next year. You're rolling with T. Higgins, Auden Tate, and Tyler Boyd. Auden Tate is like a 2-target-a-game guy that just catches some jump balls. Higgins will probably get his 6. I don't know. Higgins is a wide receiver 1, but he's not going to be a wide receiver 1 if Tyler Boyd's on the roster. There's going to be a 1A, 1B. So, yeah, I think Boyd is like, you could go, like you said, 9th round. You can go in a super flex, literally go quarterback and running back up until round 9, and then just take your wide receiver there, go get like a Michael Gallup lower than him, and then go get a high upside guy in like Will Fuller, and you have the perfect team going into next year. So I think he's a perfect value and a perfect trade target. Like, hypothetical max maybe trade. Would you give a 2021 first for Tyler Boyd?
I would. I discount rookie picks like crazy. And Tyler Boyd, off the top, let me tell you, I got the thing right here. Tyler Boyd is 25 years old, right? He's got 6 years left in the NFL as a wide receiver. Should he continue to perform? Like, I'm not worried about the age there. I think Tyler Boyd's production is worthy of at least a middle first round. Like, if I was the 101, 2, 3, if my team was trash, I probably wouldn't do that. But if you expect to land somewhere in the middle this season in your dynasty, fuck yeah, he's worth a middle 105, 106. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I always think about it in terms of like what could happen, kind of. So think about this year. Say last year you gave a first round pick, you didn't know what it was. Say it ended up being the 108. Okay, that's probably what Henry Ruggs, maybe Rager, maybe Judy, stuff like that in a super flex league. So would you rather we hope that those guys are going to be posting wide receiver 18 on the team that just had the number 1 pick in the NFL draft without a quarterback in the future. It's like the kind of the way I think about it, because obviously I can, like, Jerry Jeudy's a better athlete. He's going to have more, I don't know if he's going to have more targets. He's going to probably see better targets as of now. The team's a little bit better, like stuff like that. Jalen Reagor, the team's good. He's going to be the number 1. But for them to finish as the wide receiver 18, they're going to have to put up 1,400 yards because they're not going to see the 150 or I don't even want to say 150, the 130 targets that Tyler Boyd's going to see. And Tyler Boyd's very efficient in the red zone. He's shown that the last 2 years. He's really good at, or maybe the team's just really good at getting him open in the red zone. So I think it's definitely just an overall good dynasty player that even if his value was high, I still think it'd be worth it because he produces at least the last 2 years, and he's going to continue to produce for a team that's maybe only getting better from here, presumably only getting better from here. So I like that a lot.
Just to some of your points here about like the rookies, because like he in our startup here, he went after in the same round as Michael Pittman, for example, Darius Slayton, Marquise Brown. He went after rookies like Rager by a few rounds, Judy, Jefferson by a few rounds. If you haven't done it yet, viewers, go to FSC. What is it? FSC Draft Guide? Is that what it is?
Yep.
FSEDraftguide.com and check out. We've got stuff on hit rates there. There's almost no chance a rookie wide receiver is going to perform top 18. Like, it just doesn't fucking happen in the NFL. We've got the evidence to support that statement on that website. Go check it out. Tyler Boyd can do it, might do it again. So yes, trade him for a mid-round 1. Absolutely all day.
For sure. All right,
Look at
I'm
that
moving.
plug. Look at that plug,
I
Lucas.
love it. I was going to mention
Plug.
something about the hit rate prior, but I just kind of dropped the ball there.
I
But
did that research,
I
Lucas.
know you
I'm
did.
proud of it.
I told you you're the man for doing it. Dweez Nuts is the man for doing that. That's for sure.
But you put the website together. I plugged it. I think you owe me a little money for that plug. But
All right, I'll shoot you some money.
let's
All
move
right,
on. Are we ready for tight ends?
let's do it. All right, I will go because I'm. This is like my Robert Woods at the tight end here, and Hayden Hertz.
Yeah.
All right, flash back to free agency. The Falcons traded a second-round pick for the once first-round pick, Hayden Hearst, a guy that also was listed ahead of the depth chart of Mark Andrews the whole season last year, just to put that in the back of your head. People think Mark Andrews is like this next Travis Kelce. It's not happening. The whole different breakdown
I think
of
it might happen. Okay.
I don't know. I'm not like he only played on like 50% of the snaps, and whatever. This Hayden Hearst, a good athlete, was a good draft pick for a reason. He comes into the Falcons, a team that has just a ton of vacated targets. So what that means, also on FSCDraftGuide.com, all the data for vacated production. What that means is a player was on the team last year, left the team, that leaves X amount of targets that say, I guess in this case, Austin Hooper had 111 targets last year. They might have had another tight end that adds up to that, but there's 111 vacated tight end targets. Yes, there's other tight ends on the roster, but is Luke Stalker and Jaden Graham really a better tight end than Hayden Hearst? Then you add in the receiver targets, which was Mohamed Sanu, and I think they had another guy, 68 wide receiver targets. They didn't bring in a single wide receiver, then they should have drafted CeeDee Lamb, but they did not. Russell Gage. Well, no, they shouldn't have, but like AJ Terrell is like CeeDee Lamb, greater sign AJ Terrell at that pick for sure, no matter if they don't need him or not. But 68 vacated wide receiver targets and 78 vacated running back targets. So he has to compete with Todd Gurley, who's banged up, who's not going to see 78 targets. He might if he stays healthy, but they're probably going to limit his workload a little bit. And Russell Gage to fill that wide receiver 3 role. I have a strong feeling Hayden Hurst is a better athlete than Russell Gage, probably a better receiving weapon, definitely a better blocker. He's going to be on the field a ton. So I don't know. Not that he's being like extremely undervalued, but like I have him at like my tight end 8, maybe even 7 in Dynasty, because he's literally a more athletic Austin Hooper, can probably pass block better. Like he was drafted in the first round by a team that knows what they're doing, that has a great coaching staff, a great organization in the Ravens. And they obviously like him a lot if they went out and traded a second round pick when this team has no depth ever. This team never has any depth. They could have used that second round pick to get a running back, to get a backup quarterback. Who knows if Matt Ryan's going to be there much longer, depth on defense, anything, you name it. So this team is the offensive line is coming back. That also will help. Kind of the same with the Bengals. The team is going to improve. Hayden Hurst is going to see a ton of production. I think he can do, might be dumb to say it, but do a lot more than Austin Hooper did last year. Hooper is just really efficient in the red zone. But I think Hayden Hurst is a great trade target. Tight end premium too. I think the thing that people kind of undervalue, I had this conversation, I think Notorious Fantasy asked me, a 2021 first and Hayden Hurst for Mark Andrews. I said, no way. Like I said, Hayden Hurst, take the Hayden Hurst in the 2021 first, because it's a tight end premium league. A tight end premium league helps tight ends that get more receptions. It doesn't help a guy like Mark Andrews who's only going to get 40, 50 receptions on the year because the touchdowns aren't inflated. The yards aren't inflated. So if you're getting a guy that's getting 90, we'll just say at the ceiling, 90 receptions. We'll say 80 receptions if that's the ceiling. Your tight end premiuming that, whatever the premium is, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, that compared to a tight end that's getting 40 catches. So I think people are just kind of undervaluing. I want to say that people it's potential, but like it's potential with no competition around him to take that from him. So I think he's huge. He's in for a huge role this year, and he's there for 2 more years.
My only 2 concerns about what you said, actually my only 2 issues with what you said, the only 2 times you fucked up when you were talking over the last 2 minutes are these, okay? First of all, Russell Gage is better than you think. I think Russell Gage is he was on my short list of trade targets. I love me some Russell Gage this season as a wide receiver 3 there. And Gurley will be fine on his targets. Now I loved Hayden Hearst coming out of the draft. So my podcast, I'm going to plug myself real quick, Your Football Fantasy, which is available most places. I don't think it's on Spotify right now because I haven't taken Lucas's advice, but maybe I will one day. Maybe I don't want Spotify listeners listening to my podcasts, those fucking tools. But look, Austin Hayden Hearst is a great athlete, not the most athletic tight end that you could want. Austin Hooper, you said Hayden Hearst is so much better than Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper was drafted in the beginning of the third round. It's not like he's a seventh round guy. He's also an athletic freak at the tight end position. But you're not wrong. Like, Hayden Hearst goes to one of the best tight end positions in the NFL. Like, this is a team that values that position. It's a quarterback that has valued that position. Austin Hooper may have, quote unquote, broke out last season, but every single year he's been on that team, he has produced because his target numbers have been high. And that's because Matt Ryan likes the tight end. I like Hurst. I think he's going later than he should. I think he went in the 10th round in our tight end premium league. He went after guys like Irv Smith Jr. Wait, and maybe after. No, he went after guys like T.J. Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, who I like Dallas Goedert, but Hayden Hearst has a just as good opportunity to perform as well, if not better than those guys. But I don't hate it. But careful talking about Russell Gage. That's a guy that could really surprise people.
I don't hate him. I don't think Russell Gage is going to see – not a chance Russell Gage takes all 68 of those vacated wide receiver targets. Like, he could. He definitely could. And I think Gage, you could have put him on this list because if Julio or Calvin Ridley were to get hurt, like they've shown in the past, like Gage is going to get 10-plus targets a game because I mentioned how thin – like, for some reason, this team does not believe in putting in players in the back end of your depth chart. Like, you'd think they would go look at a team like the Saints that has like 4 tight ends, like 10 running backs always. They get like Zach Zenner and guys, and then they end up producing. But you'd think that they would change something they haven't done it. Ever since their 28-3 loss, you'd think they would try and change something because players were banged up then too. But yeah, I think that the Falcons are going to be – I don't know if they're going to be that good of a team, but I think they're going to be an underrated fantasy landmine.
Doesn't matter if they're that good of a team. Doesn't matter. So like there's a couple of guys in the fantasy universe at Fantasy In Session. I don't know if you know them or not, but I've done a few things with them. They're good friends of my show, and like they're Atlanta guys, and they don't have a lot of love for Hayden Hearst either. That seems to be the prevailing opinion that Hayden Hearst is a huge step down from Austin Hooper, but like take advantage of that if you can. You're not wrong. My favorite thing that you put on this list here, I don't even know if you said it because I stopped listening to you because I find your voice to be a little boring. Sorry, Lucas.
Probably.
Is when you said that Hooper had the most red zone targets per game of all the tight ends. Like that is where the Hayden Hearst real value is going to jump in because this is a guy stepping into a situation where he may have 10 fucking touchdowns. That wouldn't surprise me this season on a team that scores nearly at will on offense. The in-session guys pointed out to me that they made a ton of moves last year on their offensive line. All those guys got hurt. They're all coming back this season. I expect that offensive line to be a lot improved, much improved from it was last season, which was their biggest weakness. And if Matt Ryan gets any time at all, watch them score 30 points a game. If they average 28 points a game, again, won't surprise me. And Hayden Hertz is going to get his piece of that. Definitely a guy I'm targeting in drafts. I like that. My tight end trade target here is hard to say out loud. It's OJ Howard. Like,
I'm all about it.
Last season going into the draft, everybody was on OJ Howard's nut. 2 seasons ago, I think when he was a rookie, right? Everybody was on O.J. Howard's nut. There's not been an athlete at the tight end position like O.J. Howard in fucking forever, but it hasn't worked yet for whatever reason. Jameis and O.J. Howard never fucking connected, which it's strange to me. I don't understand why. Maybe O.J. Howard doesn't work very hard in practice, but he hasn't gotten his. And now Tom Brady comes in. Obviously a guy that can use the tight end. We all saw that in New England when he had Gronkowski and that gay guy that hung himself. Doesn't matter what his name is. He's dead now. But Gronk comes back to Tampa Bay, and all of a sudden, people who were excited about O.J. Howard are no longer excited about O.J. Howard. Okay, Rob Gronkowski is like 32 years old. He's old as fuck. He's there on a 1-year deal, which is not going to be extended to a 2-year deal. one of the reasons I believe that very firmly is that the team decided to take O.J. Howard's fifth-year option and sign him on for another season. They don't think Gronk is going to be there. Rob Gronkowski is – I've never believed that Rob Gronkowski should have ever performed the way he did. He's kind of a piece of shit human. I don't think he has a big – I can't say this enough. I fucking hate Rob Gronkowski. I think he won the genetic lottery, and he took that ticket and he fucking wiped his ass with it before he cashed it in, which pisses me off as a tiny human. Like if I would have had anything that he had, I'd have worked at it. I watched an interview with Julian Edelman once, and you know, you hear a lot about these professional athletes who do crazy workouts. Like you get to see their fucking ridiculous workout. Jerry Rice had the most insane workout regimen of any athlete of all time. And when you get to see it, like it makes you want to throw up watching. Julian Edelman in his interview said he was really impressed with Rob Gronkowski's work ethic because sometimes they'd be sitting there just playing video games for hours at a time. And then Gronk would just jump up and say, "Hey, let's all do 10 push-ups real quick." And that impressed Julian Edelman about this guy's fucking dedication to his own craft. I think Rob Gronkowski is a piece of shit human. And if he died, like I would rather Aaron Hernandez still be alive than Rob Gronkowski. He sucks ass at life anyway. Back to the point. Gronk will be gone next year. O.J. Howard is still going to be there next year. He's already been signed back to the team. Will he hit eventually? Who knows? But he's free. He's fucking free. When Gronk got signed, O.J. Howard's stock fell through the floor. He's free. So why not pick him up, stash him on your bench, and see what happens next year? I know Cameron Brate beat him out a couple of years in a row, which is really disappointing. I know Gronk coming back totally fucking disintegrates his value this year, but a guy with an athletic profile of an O.J. Howard can't be ignored if he's free. I don't have any trade examples. I'll look them up if you want to tell me about how right I am.
For sure. No, I think that not that I don't want to like side with the athletic profile thing, but we have not seen one like him, and that has to mean something. A guy like him just doesn't not produce on the football field. A first-round tight end, the hit rate data is on there, but not past year 3. But just use year 3 because it stands pretty congruent with when the tight end should be taking over. Cameron Brate, I don't know if you mentioned him a little bit. They can cut him or trade him for 0 dead cap this year and next year. They obviously don't want him there if they went out and got Gronk. If they really believed in Brate, they wouldn't have gotten Gronk. I get there's the whole personal connection. Gronk thinks losing 50 pounds makes you catch more balls or something, whatever. I'm all on the anti-Gronk take for you, but that means that Gronk and Brate will not be there next year.
Do you wish he were dead like I do?
I don't know. I just choose to ignore everything he does. Like when he retired, everyone's like one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history retires, and I'm thinking like, did anyone check his stats? Like he played one full season his whole career. Like is Cordell Patterson the best receiver because he played one really good season and didn't do anything the rest of the time? Like
that's a Chicago Bear right there. Lucas, I'm not going to let you off the hook on this question. Do you, like I do, wish Rob Gronkowski were dead?
No, I can't say yes.
Let me ask you it a different way. See if we can alienate some of your viewers. Who do you wish were dead more? If you could pick one to catch the coronavirus and die next week, would you pick Rob Gronkowski or Donald Trump? Choose one.
That's tough. I'm not a big political guy, but I hate how Trump tweets all the time. So I'd probably go Trump, actually, because he hasn't been wearing a mask the last month.
President. You just lost half your fucking viewer, or 40% or whatever people voted for.
Yeah, it's also an hour, and I don't even know if they're listening. I would go with the guy that hasn't worn a mask and tweets about coronavirus all the time. That's probably my stance there. But yeah, come on, like O.J. Howard, you bring him into an offense year 2 of Brady. Not saying there's going to be a bad year 1, but year 2 of Brady with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tyler Johnson. People kind of forget about him. Not that he's a good dynasty stash because he really isn't. Keyshawn Vaughn, Ronald Jones. They got another running back that's really fast. Calais, I don't know if he'll make the team, but he's insanely fast.
Raymond Calais is my fucking dude from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. I lost a lot of money on his 40 time at at the combine. I bet that it'd be sub 4.35, and it was like a 4.42. But he is something. Watch that.
Was
kid.
he the one with like 2,000 rushing yards last year? Because they had like 3 running backs.
Yes, they had 3 running backs. All of them were eligible for this draft. I believe
one stayed though.
He's the only one that got picked up by anybody. He was the third down back, the receiving back on that team. And to me, he was the second best running back on that team. Trey Ragas, who didn't get signed, probably should have fucking been signed somewhere. But Raymond Kelly got invited to the combine, which pretty much means you're going to be put on an NFL team somewhere. That's just kind of the way it works these days. But
for sure, yeah, I agree.
Go ahead.
But yeah, what I'm saying is that if Gronk and Cameron Brate aren't there, OJ Howard has to see production. Like last year, he saw production, didn't work out. The team also wasn't that great. The interceptions were there, and Cameron Brate was still the starter on the depth chart. So like, I always say the depth chart because that is like teams don't produce a depth chart and then like switch it around when it comes to game time. Like they have to produce the depth chart for announcers, for stat keepers, for X amount of stuff. So I think that matters. Like we'll come into this year, we'll probably talk about it. Nick Boyle is the starter. He was last year. He is this year. And it's not because that he's the better tight end. It's just because that teams maybe value him more in the run blocking game, et cetera. So I think that they probably got Gronk to run block, to just be the tight end coach, you could say, and maybe play on 50% of the snaps. But if you can get OJ Howard in his fifth year maturity, hopefully learns from Cameron Brate, Gronk, Brady, Bruce Arians, all these guys, I would think it would work out, and he's cheap, just like you said. So I think that's a big one for sure.
Got a couple of trades here for you. We see straight up trades on Yahoo for OJ Howard, Chase Edmonds, straight up, Darren Fells, straight up, who might have scored a lot of touchdowns last year, but only because Jordan Akins was injured. Like it basically means it's free.
All right, I'm gonna record the outro now. Is that good?
If you like, yeah, you. That was not a good combination of things.
So if you're, for whatever reason, still watching this far, like at least watch the Dynasty stuff, because we do know what we're talking about. We just like to have fun with it, because if we just sat here and like Fantasy Pros and Roto World and just read off our show sheets that we don't even do, that someone else does for us, like that wouldn't be any fun for us. So we like to have a little fun with it. So at least watch that part. I'll probably put the video notes down below when to click and all that crap. But this will be a weekly thing, like I said, Fridays.
Wait, you and me every week?
For sure. We might bring on, if you have anybody else you want to bring on, we could do like a 3 or a 4. I don't know. We're just going to bring a Dynasty video.
It's cute that you think I know other people.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Okay, I guess I'll have to bring people on.
Look, I'm not doing another one of these with you until you get some liquor.
Okay, I'll work on it. One, I'm only 20, so like I can't really buy it myself, and
You either have a fake ID or you have a friend that's 21 years old, and I do not condone, for the record, underage drinking.
I have my parents. My mom usually describes it. That's fine. It works out that way. But yeah, so every Friday, we'll probably move to 1 in the summer when redraft's more of a thing. But yeah, so go follow Dwayne down that way. His Twitter's down there. Dweez Nuts on Twitter. All the links to the draft guide, his hit rate, my vacated production data. His Twitter will be down there. His podcast will be down there. And we'll see you guys next Friday.